I was saying, my name is Tanya Latta. I'm a Senior Director of Workplace and Equity at the Financial Health Network. I've been with the network about 10 years, and alongside Brenton, we're so excited to welcome each and every one of you to Financial Health Network's Sweet Home Chicago.
Yes, we are. Well, first of all, you look fabulous.
Oh, thanks, Brenton. You're looking pretty snazzy yourself, pockets square and all.
Thanks so much. It's getting harder to look dapper as I age.
Feel that.
My name is Brenton Peck. I'm also a 10-year veteran at Financial Health Network. And
Yeah.
Tanya and I have the honor of being your MCs for this event. Yeah, we can clap. It's okay. Get it, it's here. But as such, we thought it would be fun for you all to get to know us a little bit. Because you see, Tanya and I, we have a lot in common, but much more uncommon.
Yeah.
Well, let's start with some similarities, though. Similarities. We're both in our 40s now.
We are.
I don't know about you, but I ache constantly.
That sounds rough, Brenton. Do you do yoga? Have you heard of yoga?
Yoga.
This guy.
It's a tile on my Peloton app, but no, I've never played yoga. I tend to do things that only strain my old man body. But I did recognize that I had finally crossed into my 40s just the other day.
Okay.
Somebody offered me a seat on the bus. And I didn't refuse.
Okay. Well, looking back, when I started Financial Health Network about 10 years ago, I was all turned down for what? And nowadays, Lil Jon is making meditation albums, and I'm much more likely to turn down for bed.
Well, just this last weekend, after a date with my wife, I turned down the lights in our bedroom
Okay.
to be economical instead of
Boo,
romantic.
Brenton!
It's inflation, cost-cutting
Oh my God.
measures.
Romeo over here. Maybe we should get to some actual similarities?
Agreed.
Okay. Last year, we both got tattoos. Brenton is understated as ever in his tattoo choices,
Late nights and good eats,
always.
though you tend to enjoy things I can't even pronounce. Well, I might be considered more of a simpleton.
It's called Noki, but okay. We're both 80s babies. We played Oregon Trail. We watched Saved by the Bell. Oh, young Tanya and Brenton. If only you knew then.
Well, I guess I always knew I liked chicken wings.
That's true.
And we're like 43% of other millennials who carry loads of student debt, though we're making our way through.
Well, let's not forget the obvious, that we both work at Financial Health Network. Though if you looked at the paths that we both took to get here, you might be surprised that we ended up at the same place.
That's true. I mean, your path to Financial Health Network looks a lot different than mine. You know, this 10-plus year journey that I've been on, it started with a pretty radical shift. Before my friends pushed me into exploring Financial Health Network, I was destined to be a career banker. True story. Some 80s babies grow up wanting to be the next Maverick and fight for that prestigious Top Gun trophy. Others are maybe hoping to build the next flux capacitor so they can travel through time with Gray's Sports Almanac. But for me, it was the movie Wall Street that won me over. I idolized Michael Douglas's character in the film because I thought that Gordon Gekko had it all. Suspenders, popped white-collar dress shirt, slick moosed hair, trading individual securities and DOS software projected onto a Macintosh computer that weighed 20 pounds. He was so awesome. As I advanced, I had to really start grappling with some basic questions of life. What drives my happiness? Am I successful? What's my purpose? As I leaned into my work at CFSI, as we were called at the time, it became pretty clear that my career calling was to improve people's financial health at scale, not increase wealthy people's wealth.
Brenton, what I love about that story is The fact that we're sharing the stage as true friends and trusted colleagues, and 20 years ago I was organizing protests against bajillionaires. But here we both are with all of you to reflect and rethink and rewire and celebrate 20 years of the Financial Health Network and the movement that it sparked. As I was preparing for Emerge, I began to reflect on my own 20-year journey that brought me here today, the various chapters and the through lines. 20 years ago, I was just finishing college, and like many other things in my life, I took the long way around. When I started, I was all in on studying Tibetan Buddhism, which evolved into wanting to understand global traditions of people as an ethnomusicologist. And if you think that's a strange leap, get this. I ended up graduating with a dual degree in economics and political science. So there I was, newly minted grad. In some ways, looking back on that young woman, I understand her next move maybe more than she did at the time. I'd spent years studying the economic and political systems within which most of us operate, but something was missing. What about the people in those systems? What about the inequities those systems perpetuate? How could systems that were so powerful neglect so many? I didn't know my place within those systems at 23, but I knew those questions would help guide me and that I had to leave my familiar to help me answer them. So I gathered together all my savings and I bought a one-way ticket to Guatemala. My mother was not thrilled, but there I was. I learned the language, I found work, I made friends. I understood the depth of my privilege as a US citizen in sometimes uncomfortable ways. I learned people. I lived. Upon my return to the States, my perspective had forever shifted. It both widened and became incredibly focused. I came back rewired. I was committed to the work of economic inclusion, economic opportunity, financial health for all, if you will. So now I had a vision, but I needed a job. I strung together some odd jobs for several years. I continued to wait tables because it was lucrative. I adminned at a small investment firm. I still enjoyed numbers and watching what moved our macroeconomy. I organized with labor. I was still holding fast to the pursuit of equity. I moved from restaurant kitchens to corporate offices to community meeting rooms, listening and learning, piecing together the dynamics of this financial system and where individuals fit in. Then I found my local CDFI, People Fund. Y'all, I felt like I had arrived. I was getting paid to support small businesses who needed a chance, who needed a loan. I built my network and deepened relationships with people in my community that were committed to a future of financial inclusion. Then came another strange turn. After 4 years of deeply meaningful work, something happened. I was ready for my next chapter. And this time I surprised even myself. I decided to go to graduate school for not one, but 2 degrees. I am a Libra, after all. One was in public affairs, one was from a very traditional business school, but I wanted to build a bridge. I'm not gonna lie, it was grueling. One day I was in rooms of students whose guiding light was to increase public utility and collective value. The next, I was learning how to maximize efficiency and profit. But where was the both and? Why weren't there more rooms of people across that continuum that wanted to build holistic solutions? I knew it couldn't be just one or the other. So I survived that. I graduated, and I had a hunger to find meaning in my work again. I had the fancy credentials, and I had a mountain of student debt. And it was in this moment, 10 years ago, that I found the Financial Health Network, a nonprofit leveraging financial systems to create equitable financial futures for the vulnerable among us. I signed right up, and here I am 10 years later. As I reflect on the windy journey I took to get here over the last 20 years, I try to connect the dots, try to figure out what ties it all together, and for me, the through line is people, their stories, their dreams, their motivations, how they build community, how they care for one another. I've always been inspired by and convinced of the idea of the collective, that we are all bigger than the sum of our parts. I feel the collective within me, the sum of many parts. Neither of my parents were born in the US. but I'm a Texan. They came from very different places, and so in turn, I am of both of those places and from neither of them. My father supported so many of our family members, even when my mother felt the budget couldn't be stretched any further, and when my mother had the means, she gave with deep generosity. And then when the financial tables turned again, we were supported, our family was supported in food and in love and in dollars. I understood that I was part of something bigger than myself. We had people to support and who supported us. I am moved by the power of the personal, by the power of scale and reach. While it's our shared humanity that drives me, it's our differences that most excite me. The human experience is infinitely vast, and yet it's fundamentally simple. And to me, that's where the magic is, in that in-between. It's how the MBA in me can work alongside the community organizer in me. How that small business lender understood people who'd been told no too many times, as I myself relied on the earned income tax credit for years. It's how that Wall Street banker and this aspiring ethnomusicologist came to share a stage, a vision of financial health for all. Every person in this room has made a commitment to that truth and has an important role to play in achieving it. Every person in this room has a path, either windy or straight, that brought them here today, has a story that motivates that commitment to a financially inclusive future. This room that we've gathered in this conference, there are so many different starting points that we all have, yet we have that shared vision of financial health for all, and that's powerful. Rethinking doesn't mean you don't have a North Star. Rewiring doesn't mean you fundamentally change the nature of your values. It means looking from a new angle or considering a new perspective. It means walking into a room you're not familiar with and really listening to the voices that you don't usually hear. My experiences, the people and the places, pushed me to think about solutions that were collaborative, that leveraged different skills and different voices. People work incredibly hard to protect themselves and the people that they love, to provide stability and to create opportunity. And while sometimes it might seem functional or objective, or something we often quantify in data or numbers, it's the deep personal intimacy of our financial lives that connects all of us. We all seek financial health. We all deserve financial health. And together, this network has an incredible opportunity to achieve that. Brenton, over the years, we've talked quite a bit about how despite our differences, we're still such good friends. And I'm beginning to recognize that I think it's, in fact, because of our differences that we can work so well together for a common mission. Over the next 3 days, we want to push each of you to rethink something that you've held on tight to. Reflect on the story that brought you here and the spark that continues to fuel that passion. What do you say? Let's get into it.
Well, that's what's really special about this place and finding our way to becoming a financial health practitioner. We can come from different backgrounds with our own ideologies, lived experiences, and biases to rally behind an important topic of our time. And this event, Emerge, is the culmination of our collective financial health efforts. Y'all, did I say that right?
It's fine.
You all push us to be better. You push us to promote actionable insights, to develop standards, to highlight systemic barriers that stand in the way of financial health equity, and to catalyze the responsible use of future tech. And now it's our turn. What we have in store for you over the coming days will push you. The sessions and the speakers will challenge the status quo. They'll promote equity in everything. And we'll all leave here caring deeply about one another. We're finding new ways to improve the financial health of the people that we touch. I can promise you this much: Emerge will be memorable. But before we get into our first session, Tanya and I wanted to acknowledge that this incredible event would not be possible without the support of our sponsors. 32 organizations are sponsoring Emerge this year, including our foundation-level sponsors: Bank of America, Prudential Financial, and U.S. Bank.
We'd like to thank our gold-level sponsors, AARP, the BlackRock Foundation, Chime, Citi Foundation, EverFi from Blackbaud, JP Morgan Chase, Mass Mutual Foundation, PNC Bank, and the Principal Foundation.
And thank you to our silver level sponsors, Daily Pay, Goldman Sachs, Groove, a project of the Singleton Foundation, the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, KeyBank, MetLife Foundation, Opportune, PayPal, and Wells Fargo.
Our bronze level sponsors include BECU, Capital One, Experian, Jack Henry, MasterCard Center for Inclusive Growth, the SCAN Foundation, Self, Target, and Visa.
And our contributing sponsors, the National Credit Union Foundation and SecureSave. Thank you. Thank you for your commitment to financial health for all.